Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever been in a relationship where everything seemed perfect at first, but then boo-boom? He suddenly pulls away. One day he's texting you all day, making plans, talking about the future, and the next. Silence, distance, maybe even excuses, and you're left wondering what happened. Did I do something wrong? Is he just busy? But let me tell you something, it's not about you. It's about his attachment style. And if he's an avoidant, you need to recognize it before you get caught in an emotional roller coaster. So today, I'm going to show you the 5 unmistakable signs that he's an avoidant so you can stop chasing, stop second guessing, and start taking back your power. Now, here's the thing. You can't change an avoidant. You can't love him enough to fix his fears. What you can do is recognize the pattern and make a choice. Stop over-explaining yourself. You don't need to convince someone to love you. Stop making excuses for his behavior. If he's not showing up consistently, that's all you need to know. Start valuing yourself enough to walk away when someone isn't meeting you halfway. Because real love doesn't feel like a guessing game. It feels safe. It feels secure. It feels like home. So I'll leave you with this. If you recognize these signs, don't waste another minute hoping he'll change. Take your power back. Step into the kind of love that makes you feel cherished, not confused. Because you deserve nothing less. Independence is a beautiful thing. We all need space to grow, to pursue our goals, to have our own lives. A healthy relationship is one where both partners can maintain their individuality while still building something meaningful together. But here's where the difference lies: when a man is too focused on his independence, to the point where connection starts to feel like a burden, that's when you know you're dealing with an avoidant. At first, everything might seem normal. In fact, it might even feel exciting. He's confident, self-sufficient, and doesn't seem needy or clingy. He's got his own life, his own goals, his own ambitions, and that can be incredibly attractive. But as you start to get closer, you begin to notice subtle signs that something is off. Maybe he's hard to reach at times. Maybe he only wants to see you on his terms. Maybe he talks about how much he values his freedom more than he talks about how much he values you. At first, you might brush it off. You tell yourself he's just busy. He's just focused. He's got a lot going on. Sure, that might be true. But when someone truly values you, no matter how busy they are, they make an effort to stay connected. They find ways to include you in their life rather than keeping you at the edges of it. An avoidant, however, will use their need for independence as a shield or reason to keep you at a distance, a way to avoid deep emotional intimacy. You might start noticing patterns. Every time you talk about spending more time together, he subtly pulls away. If you ask about the future, he gives vague answers or changes the subject. When you express your feelings, he seems uncomfortable rather than engaged. It's as if any sign of closeness triggers something inside him that makes him retreat. And the more you try to connect, the more distant he becomes. Now, here's what often happens in these situations. Instead of recognizing that he's emotionally unavailable, you start questioning yourself. Am I asking for too much? Am I being needy? Maybe I should give him more space. But the truth is, a man who genuinely wants to build something with you will never make you feel like you have to beg for his time, his attention, or his emotional presence. Avoidants aren't just independent, they use independence as a defense mechanism. And if you don't see it for what it is, you'll end up in a one-sided relationship where you're always the one trying to close the distance, while he's always finding ways to keep you at arm's length. One of the most confusing and emotionally draining experiences in a relationship is dealing with someone who is inconsistent. One moment they are deeply invested, and the next they are distant and withdrawn. This hot and cold dynamic is a classic sign of an avoidant partner, and if you don't recognize it, you can find yourself stuck in a cycle that keeps you emotionally exhausted and second-guessing everything. In the beginning, everything feels exciting. He might shower you with attention, sending long texts, making plans, talking about the future. He makes you feel like you're the most important person in his life. You start to believe this is something special because in those moments of connection, it feels real. But then suddenly something shifts. Maybe he stops texting as much. Maybe he cancels plans last minute. Maybe he starts acting distant without any clear explanation. It's as if he's emotionally retreating, but you can't figure out why. At first, you might think it's just a bad day, or maybe he's stressed with work. But then it happens again and again. And each time you're left feeling confused. You start analyzing every conversation, every interaction. Did I say something wrong? Did I come on too strong? You might even try to fix the situation by being extra understanding, by giving him more space, or by adjusting yourself to fit what you think he wants. But no matter what you do, the pattern remains the same. Every time things start to feel deep and meaningful, he pulls away. The reason this happens is that avoidants have a deep fear of intimacy. They crave connection on one level, but on a deeper level, it makes them uncomfortable. When things feel easy and light, they can engage fully. But the moment the relationship starts to require real emotional vulnerability, their instinct is to create distance. This isn't something they do consciously, it's an automatic defense mechanism. They might start making excuses, saying they feel overwhelmed, or even blaming you for wanting too much from them. What makes this cycle even more toxic is that the moment you start to pull away yourself, when you decide to stop chasing, he suddenly comes back, acting as if nothing happened. He might start being affectionate again, planning dates and making you believe he's fully present. But as soon as you relax and think things are back on track, the cycle starts all over again. The unpredictability keeps you emotionally hooked because your brain starts craving the validation of his good moments while desperately trying to avoid the pain of his withdrawals. This push and pull dynamic is not love. It's a game of emotional survival. And the longer you stay in it, the more it drains your sense of self-worth. Communication is the foundation of any strong relationship, but when you're dealing with an avoidant, real conversations, especially those involving emotions, become a battlefield. One of the most frustrating experiences with an avoidant partner is how they react when conflict arises. Instead of addressing the issue, working through it, or even expressing their side, they shut down. They might go silent, physically withdraw, change the subject, or even disappear for hours or days. And in that moment, you're left feeling unheard, dismissed, and deeply alone. At first, you might not recognize it as a pattern. Maybe the first few times you bring up a concern, he gives short, vague answers or says he doesn't want to talk about it right now. That seems reasonable. Nobody enjoys conflict, but then you start noticing that not right now turns into never. Anytime an uncomfortable conversation comes up, whether it's about commitment, emotions, or even something small like plans for the weekend, he finds a way to avoid it. You start walking on eggshells, afraid that bringing up anything too serious will make him pull away even more. And when you finally do push the issue, he might get defensive, saying things like, "Why do we have to talk about this?" Or "You're overreacting." He might accuse you of being too needy or dramatic, making you feel like you're the problem for simply wanting open communication. Over time, this kind of response conditions you to suppress your feelings. Instead of expressing your needs, you start convincing yourself that they aren't important. You tell yourself, maybe I should just let it go. Maybe I'm being too much. And before you know it, you're the one doing all the emotional labor, making excuses for his behavior and trying to maintain peace at the cost of your own self-respect. What makes this even more damaging is that it creates an emotional imbalance in the relationship. You become the one who constantly tries to fix things while he continues avoiding, knowing that you'll eventually let things slide. This isn't just frustrating, it's emotionally exhausting. A healthy relationship involves two people who can navigate challenges together, who can have difficult conversations without fear of abandonment or hostility. But with an avoidant, conflict isn't something to resolve, it's something to escape from. And if you don't see this pattern for what it is, you'll spend all your energy trying to get someone to open up who was never willing to in the first place. When you're in a relationship with an avoidant, one of the most painful experiences is realizing that no matter how much time you spend together, there's always an invisible wall between you. He might enjoy your company, he might even show affection at times, but when it comes to truly letting you into his world, his thoughts, his feelings, his personal life, he keeps you at a distance. It's subtle at first. Maybe he avoids deep conversations about the future, or he doesn't share much about his past. You might notice that while you open up to him about your emotions, your dreams, and your fears, he remains guarded, giving only vague responses or deflecting with humor. Over time, you begin to feel like you don't really know him. Sure, you know the basics: his favorite food, his hobbies, maybe even his daily routine, but when it comes to the deeper layers of who he is, he remains a mystery. You try to connect, ask him questions, express your feelings, and invite him to be vulnerable, but he never fully reciprocates. Every time you take a step forward emotionally, he either retreats or finds a way to shift the focus away from himself. He might tell you that he's just not good at expressing emotions or that he needs more time to open up. And so you wait, you keep hoping that one day when he feels more comfortable, he'll finally let you in. But that day never comes. Instead, you start noticing patterns that confirm his reluctance to fully integrate you into his life. He doesn't introduce you to his close friends or family, or if he does, it feels more like an obligation than a natural step in the relationship. When you try to make future plans, he avoids committing, saying things like, let's see how things go. He doesn't include you in his long-term vision, and when you bring it up, he acts as if you're rushing things, even if you've been together for months or even years. The longer you stay in this dynamic, the more you start to feel like an outsider in your own relationship. It's as if you're standing at the door, waiting to be fully invited in, but he never unlocks it. And the hardest part, you might start believing that if you just prove your worth, if you just love him enough, he'll finally let you in. But with an avoidant, the issue isn't about you, it's about his deep-rooted fear of intimacy. He keeps you at arm's length not because you're not enough, but because closeness feels like a threat to his sense of control. And unless he chooses to break down his own barriers, you will always be left knocking on a door that was never meant to open. One of the most painful and confusing behaviors of an avoidant is their tendency to sabotage the relationship just when things start getting serious. Everything might be going well, you're spending more time together, the bond is deepening, and it feels like you're finally reaching a place of emotional closeness. But instead of embracing the connection, he starts pulling away in ways that feel subtle at first, but soon become impossible to ignore. He might start picking fights over small things, acting irritated over issues that never bothered him before. He suddenly becomes too busy, cancels plans more often, or seems less engaged in conversations. What once felt effortless now feels like an emotional tug-of-war, and you're left wondering what changed. At first, you might try to rationalize it. Maybe he's stressed at work. Maybe he's going through something personal. Maybe he just needs time to adjust to the growing closeness. You convince yourself that if you're patient, if you give him space, he'll come back. But what you don't realize is that this isn't a temporary phase. It's a deeply ingrained pattern. The moment the relationship starts feeling too intimate, too stable, or too committed, his subconscious defense mechanism kicks in, and he starts looking for ways to create distance. He might start questioning things out loud, saying things like, I don't know if I'm ready for something serious, or I feel like I'm losing myself. He may even blame you, claiming that you're asking for too much or that the relationship is moving too fast, even if it's progressing at a normal pace. If he doesn't voice his concerns directly, he'll find other ways to self-sabotage. He might start flirting with other people, making you feel insecure. He might withdraw emotionally, becoming cold and unresponsive, hoping that you'll be the one to pull away first. In extreme cases, he might even create unnecessary drama or provoke fights, as if he's searching for an excuse to justify his need to leave. It's a cruel cycle because on the surface, it seems like he cares after all. Why would he invest in the relationship at all if he didn't? But deep down, his fear of true intimacy outweighs his desire for love, and rather than confronting that fear, he chooses to escape from it. What makes this even more painful is that once he senses you're about to walk away, he often comes back with renewed energy. He might apologize, promise to do better, and temporarily become the version of himself you fell for in the beginning. But the moment things start getting serious again, the cycle repeats. If you don't recognize this pattern for what it is, you'll keep getting pulled into an emotional whirlwind, chasing after a love that always slips away the moment you reach for it. Recognizing an avoidant partner is not just about understanding their behavior, it's about understanding yourself and what you truly deserve in a relationship. Love should not feel like a guessing game, a constant chase, or an emotional roller coaster where you're always left wondering where you stand. If you find yourself in a situation where you're giving more than you're receiving, where connection feels unstable, and where every step toward intimacy is met with resistance, it's time to take a step back and ask yourself, is this the kind of love I want? Because the truth is, love should feel safe, consistent, and reciprocal. It should make you feel cherished, not confused. Avoidants are not bad people, nor are they incapable of love. Their actions are often shaped by past experiences, childhood patterns, or deep-seated fears of intimacy. But that does not mean it is your job to fix them. One of the biggest mistakes people make in relationships with avoidance is believing that if they just love harder, if they are just more patient, if they just prove their worth, then the avoidant will finally open up. But love does not work that way. Change must come from within. Unless an avoidant person actively decides to confront their fears and break their patterns, they will continue to repeat the same behaviors no matter how much love you give. That's why the most important step you can take is recognizing your own value. You do not have to settle for emotional breadcrumbs, for inconsistent affection, or for a relationship that leaves you feeling anxious and unseen. A real, healthy relationship is built on mutual effort, mutual emotional availability, and a shared vision of the future. If someone is unwilling or unable to give you that, it is not a reflection of your worth, it is a reflection of their emotional limitations. And while it may be painful to walk away from someone you care about, staying in a situation that drains your energy and self-esteem is far more damaging in the long run. The key to breaking free from this cycle is shifting your focus back to yourself. Instead of spending time trying to decode someone's mixed signals, invest that energy into your own growth, healing, and self-love. Surround yourself with people who appreciate and reciprocate your energy. Build a life that is fulfilling on its own, so that when love does come into your life, it is an addition to your happiness, not something you're constantly fighting to hold on to. The more you honor yourself, the less tolerance you will have for relationships that leave you feeling uncertain, and the more you will attract the kind of love that feels secure, warm, and fulfilling. At the end of the day, love should not feel like a battle for someone's attention or approval. It should be a partnership where both people meet each other halfway without fear, hesitation, or avoidance. If you find yourself in a relationship where you're always the one reaching when the other person keeps pulling away, it's time to stop reaching. Let them go. Because the person who is meant for you will not make you question their intentions. They will not make you feel like you have to earn their love. They will stand beside you, ready to build something real. And that is the love you deserve. Thank you for taking the time to listen and reflect on these insights. My goal is always to empower you with the knowledge and clarity to recognize what you truly deserve in a relationship. Remember, love should be a source of strength, not confusion, and you are worthy of a connection that brings you peace, joy, and fulfillment. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Your experiences matter, and your voice could help someone else going through the same struggle. Make sure to subscribe for more content that helps you grow, heal, and create the life you deserve. Until next time, stay strong, stay true to yourself, and never settle for anything less than the love and respect you are worthy of. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.